I want this to be fun, enjoyable, not so stressed. And self-care is definitely a part of our life. And I'm going to give you some statistics that are really, really cool. I think you're going to be kind of impressed with how America's already transformed over the last 10 years. I did a self-care series for 30 days, so I'll include that towards the end, that linked on YouTube, and it's just a minute videos and gives you suggestions and things like that as well. We're going to do a whole recovery Recon series. So the first one is self-care. Next month will be about sleep, and then we'll do exercise, mindfulness, and meditation. I'm going to try to keep these around 30 minutes or so. 30 to 45 is, my objective. We'll see how that goes. But of course, that also depends on interaction with you guys as well. There's not really a time limit or a time frame. I want to make sure that if you have any questions that we get them all discussed and everything covered. And I keep hitting my elbow. I'm moving just a little bit. All right, so before we get started, does anybody have any questions? Everybody's muted. No? Everybody's good? All right.
No, we're good.
What, Tracy?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, Christy, do I need to screen share? Okay, here we go. So when I'm doing this, I will not be able to see you guys. Oh, actually, I can see you guys. This is awesome. This must be a new feature. So we're going to talk about self-care this evening. First thing I want us to do is just kind of take a minute just to breathe. And just be mindful and be present. So if you can, just close your eyes for just 1 second. And just take a few deep breaths here. And just take a general observation of what's going on mentally and physically with you today. Of what you feel. Of what you hear, what you've seen today. All the various emotions, thoughts, feelings that have occurred. And just slow down your breath just a little bit more. Just close your eyes. All right, go ahead and open your eyes, and we'll get started. So just a little bit about reconnaissance. It's what I did in the Air Force for 8 years, and there's a variety of different methods for reconnaissance, and kind of included this photo here because this is on the trail that we go hiking every day, and you can see the tree in the background is just straight vertical, and then you've got a tree that's kind of divided in two, and it's kind of going to the left and the right. And so a lot of times in our life, that's how we go. Sometimes we're in the straight direction of what's going on, and then sometimes we need to veer off to the left or to the right and realize that there's a lot of ways that we can analyze what's going on. And so what we're just trying to do is we just want to gain information this evening about our self-care regimen of what's going on with us, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and to see how we can enhance our life. All right? So your intention drives the scope of any mission, of any objective. So you've got to think about what your intention is for this evening. All right? So I would just like to ask you, if you can journal or even put it in the chat here, what is your intention for this evening? And then I'll give you about a minute, and then we can discuss it. So I can actually see a few of you guys. Let me see if I can. No. I'm trying to get into this go-to meeting, but it's not letting me. Let me get out of this just for a second. View everyone. Oh, I see. Now I can scroll. Okay. Who wants to share? Kind of your intention or what you want to get out of this, I would say, mission this evening. Anybody? Everybody's on mute. Or somebody typing?
2020 was kind of a crazy year. And it just kind of put me in a mental space where it's time to like see where you can help. Where can you be a positive part of your community?
Right.
Because it's getting pretty wild.
Yeah.
So I'm here to learn, grow, and help however I can.
Yeah, that's been one of my kind of mottos, themes, mantras for this year is social enrichment, because I feel like there's a lot of negative energy out there and a lot of dissension. And so what I do is, and I share this with the people through Warriors of Sin and a lot of other talks, but if you get up each and every day and you ask yourself, how can you enrich your life and enrich the lives of your community, it gives you a completely different perspective on how you can have a purposeful life and really make an impact. Who else wants to share? I'm sure all the ladies from last week have shared so much they probably don't want to anymore. They want a break from talking. Penny's like, yeah.
Hey, my name is Lance. I'm kind of tired today. I've had a long work day, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. I put it in chat. I wanted to meet like-minded people and expand my understanding on any topics that I can. I never know where I'm going to learn something new.
Yeah, that's true. Lance, you can't see your future connections, right? So, a week ago when I sat down with 10 ladies, we had probably no idea the connection we were going to make or what we were going to impact on our community. So I think that's a great opportunity just to reach out, because you never know who's really going to resonate with you, who's going to really understand you, and you're going to understand them, and you're just going to have that bond and attraction. Anybody else want to share? Thank you guys for sharing. Let me look at the chat, see what I'm missing here. It's Tim. Okay, let me go back up. So Tim. Greg wants to connect with the Warriors. Penny's concentration and thoughtfulness and focus. Yeah, that's good. Well, I think, Penny, if you can attend like all of these, it's really going to help you dive a little bit deeper, because we're going to talk about mind, body, and spirit through all of this. And so it's a growing process that it's, a lot of times we want it instantaneously, but it just takes time. Randy, to continue self-care and stay engaged. Well, thank you guys so much. And then Tim, meditation. Well, and the good thing is, Tim, in like a couple of weeks, you're going to get a lot of that.
So much of that.
So much. So, and I'll say, meditations a lot of times is a struggle, especially with everything that goes on in our life and where we're at today, so good intentions, guys. I love it. Absolutely love it. So we kind of talked about that. Anything specific? Is there anything that specific you want to get out of this talk this evening that we haven't discussed besides mindfulness, meditation, just kind of contentment, I heard? Is there anything I missed? I can't see the chat. Christy, is there anything new? All right, I want you to think about your life for a second and just journal. If you haven't, Penny probably wrote them down, but write down really what you want to analyze and what you want to get out of this class. So I think she said, let me go back because everybody's muted. Concentration, thoughtfulness, and focus. So if you can just kind of write that down and then just write today's date. And Tim, is meditation. All right, so we have different methods to retrieve and analyze data. So what I'll say is, like, if you go to the military aspect of it, you have the AWACS, which, basically can scan the whole side of the earth at a time. And then you have like the rivet joint, which can kind of dive down. And what we do is a figure eight, and we can follow signals of anything that transmits a signal. We can analyze it. So, That could be anything from, hang on one second. Sorry, guys. I've got to get this. I want to see you guys. So that could be anything from, say, even a water tower. We can monitor and see how much water is in the water tower, and we record and analyze all of that data and all that information, including any type of tanks or fighter aircraft or any cell phone transmission or satellite transmissions, because we want to know how much water they actually have in their water supply and things. So we can analyze that, and we dive a little bit deeper, and then you have like the U2 that has a lot of Doppler aspects. So even if it's on this side of the mountain and it's flying this way, with the Doppler radar, it can view everything that's on the other side as well. And that's kind of how we want to approach this workshop or this talk this evening, is we want to kind of start broad, we want to start big, and then we kind of want to dive down a little bit deeper and begin to try to ask ourselves kind of why. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves that question, 5 to 7 times until we get to the point of where we really, really understand. So just from an overall perspective, think about your thoughts, feelings, emotions that have occurred just today, where you're really struggling or where you really feel like a victory. Think about for a couple of minutes here, like, were you energized? Are you tired? Do you feel a little restless or anxious? Or do you feel relaxed? Do you have really good self-esteem or trust? So just a big overall broad view of what's going on in your life today. And then just take a second here and then ask yourself that question again. Is it like, what is it specific, or kind of what is your intention again? Because when you begin to dive in specifically of what's occurring maybe today or even this week, you can kind of change that intention of what does self-care mean to you, and what do you want to get out of this workshop this evening. And then I'm going to ask, has anything new popped up with anybody? Anything that wasn't discussed before that they want to discuss? All right, silence means no response, and I don't see any new text messages. So Christy, if I missed something, just let me know, okay?
I will.
All right, so take about a minute here, and I want you just to write down your current situation. I want you to write down your thoughts, feelings, emotions, everything that's going on in your life. And it can just be that broad overview. Were you tired today or this week? Were you more relaxed or more anxious? Anything that comes to mind. Spend about a minute here doing that. And I'm going to ask people to share. So you can either type or you can go verbal. Just tell me what's going on with you this week.
I'll jump in there, Carrie, if that's okay.
Yeah, please do. Is that Penny?
It is.
Okay, yeah. What's going on with you this week?
Since Monday, I have not had a panic attack at work.
Oh, that's good.
It's actually been commented on that no one has heard me screaming from my office. I've actually told my boss no twice. When they've tried to give me something else, I'm like, no, not right now. Add it to the list.
Yeah.
This week's been really weird, but enjoyable. And my husband, who's sitting here over on the couch, is enjoying it because I don't come home screaming.
Aw.
I actually have not screamed all week.
That's awesome.
Which I yell a lot. So, so far, I've enjoyed the past 3 days.
That's good. I mean, I feel really proud of you. You've done a lot of work. How do you feel about it yourself? If you could describe it in maybe 1 to 3 words, how you feel. and maybe the transformation.
I'm calm.
That's good.
More than 3 words. I'm thinking before I act.
That's good. That's real good.
I'm not in that ADHD running around in a circle. I actually think before I do anything. And as much as I hate to say it, God bless you for the yoga and the meditation. It's amazing.
Good. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm waiting for the breakdown, but right now it's going well. So,
yeah.
And I have a good support group. So,
yeah. Well, thanks for sharing.
Okay, I'm muting now.
Okay. Who else wants to share? Kind of what's going on after you kind of analyzed how you feel, right? And kind of where you're at. If you could describe it, your week. Anybody else want to share?
I'll go.
Okay. Who's talking? I can't.
It's Randy.
Okay. Hey, Randy.
Hey. So I'm just in an extremely good spot today. Well, really all week. I think after being at Warriors Ascent, I just came back with such a great knowledge that I really want to serve the community. And I've just been, I guess, looking for ways that I can do that. And it's just motivating me. And I've been consistent with repetition and all the actions I'm doing. And I just feel very hopeful and like I have a purpose.
That's
so,
good.
Yeah,
That's
I'm in
good.
a really good spot.
Good. I'm happy. I'm glad that, we were able to kind of help, I would say, channel or facilitate that.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful. I have spread the word consistently about you guys. I tell everybody
Oh, thank you so much.
that they're missing out. You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Okay, one
you're
more
welcome.
person. Do we have anybody else that wants to share?
Barb, do you want to share?
I don't.
Barb's muted, but in the comments, Carrie, can you see?
Give me a second. So she said she's felt really tired due to having to deal with some staff inability to work well with each other. Yeah, and so other than that, it's been relatively calm until today when I got an update regarding the status of a case I'm dealing with. So Barb's just kind of struggling today, and she's just got a lot. So to me, I also read in there that she's probably got some anxiety and just an enormous amount of stress. So she's got, and so I can understand exactly her situation because a lot of times she probably feels like her hands are tied and she's not in control of a lot of her surroundings. So definitely Barb and Randy and Penny, thank you so much for sharing. All right, I'm going to go back to this slide. So I want you to write down how you define self-care today, and I want you to write down all the aspects and concepts, and then we'll discuss that. And write down that question too. How do you define self-care on that in your journal as well, however you're doing it, on pen or paper or digital? Because I want you to kind of think about this over the next couple of weeks. How do you define self-care today? Because this will change. Your self-care journey will change with time. And it's probably changed for a lot of the women that, we just met a week ago. When they first came in and I asked them this on Tuesday, over a week, it's probably changed for them as well. Hey, Tim, do you mind sharing?
Sure. Spending time with myself and my wife, getting together with the family, and just having some nice, peaceful, calm time.
Yeah. I love it. Let me see who else Who else is down here that... Kat, can you hear us? How do you define self-care today?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Well, I participated in yoga, and I played with the torture roller, attacked the IQ bands.
Well, don't you do yoga with the VA like every week, I think, or?
Well, yeah, right now it's 3 days a week, but next month it's going to go to 2 because I'm participating in the golf program during the summer. So I won't be available for the 2 times on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
So for the other people,
I get a new instructor on Tuesdays.
Awesome.
So changes.
So for the people that don't know what the torture, what'd you call it? Torture tool. It's a foam roller. We did a foam roller. Yeah, we did a foam roller class last week at Warriors of Sin, and I got some nice, lovely looks from the ladies. Anybody else want to share what they define as self-care today? How about?
And I spent a little extra time in the hot shower today.
That's good.
On purpose.
That's good. What about
and 2 hours of physical therapy.
What about the other Tim? Tim G. How do you define self-care today?
So I'm in an interesting position right now where I'm kind of on the starting to like that jump between, young adult with an unfocused career to like going where I really want to be in life, right? The best answer I have for that is living deliberately. And that's kind of exactly what you're talking about. It's what is it that you really want?
Yeah.
What are the things that you can, never mind the things that you can't control. Where do you control? What can you do in that space? And that's something that, especially the last year, but like over the last 3 years, that's something that I've slowly gotten way better at. I'm like this close to really killing it with something. So
yeah, you're gonna like
awesome.
you're gonna like some of the statistics I'm getting ready to give out. So thank you guys for sharing. Definitely appreciate that. All right, so this is going to be an easy question. How much time do you spend in self-care each and every day? Let's hear, hang on a second. Did I miss a chat? Oh, I like Penny, not feeling like you have to rush home. And then doing laundry and cleaning and feed the horses and taking that time. Randy says 2+ hours. Tim says Tim G, not nearly enough.
What's the question so I can write it down? I forgot already.
How much time do you spend in self-care each and every day? Not enough. Not enough. That's one of the answers. Hey, Tom, how much time do you spend in self-care every day? Mr. Duncan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Sorry.
What's up, brother? I didn't know you were here. Yeah.
I just joined. Honestly, not nearly enough.
Okay.
Not nearly enough. I try to do probably a 10 to 15 minute hot shower a day to really, that kind of just, you can't focus on anything else if the hot water is hitting you and it's hot enough. You can only focus on that. So it just clears my mind of everything. And then if I'm not in a hurry with my business, my kids' baseball, I'm making excuses, but I will then go meditate right afterwards and
gotcha.
Completely relax, but I don't do it enough.
Right. Gotcha. Hey, thanks for joining. I'm glad you're here. If you can see this little fox, I don't know how much time she spends in self-care every day, but we'll go out there and we'll see her quite a bit, just basking in the sun. And it's been kind of magical for us. I think Monday, my wife's napping on the couch over there with herself. When did we see the baby fox?
The baby fox was
Monday. So Monday we go out, and she's usually not out like in the field. And she's out in the field walking the trail, and we kind of go around her. And then I did a video with my phone, but you can't see it very clear. And she's right at the base of this mountain, and then she goes right up past this rock formation, and she's got a little baby fox with her. So there's a little silver fox. So now every night we go out and we see the mom fox and the dad fox out hunting for mice. And it's just been really, really, really nice. All right. So here's some statistics for you guys. I think you're going to enjoy this. I really was surprised by this. So back in 2011, 6% of Americans engaged in self-care weekly. So 10 years ago. 2019, that went up quite a bit. 35% of Americans now engage in self-care on a weekly basis. Okay. This year, 80% of Americans have promised that they're going to engage in self-care every week. So it's gone up an enormous amount. Here's some of the, alarming effects, if you want to say. I don't want people to feel guilty ever about what they're doing with self-care, but I want you to realize what's going on. And what I'll include at the end of this is my happiness video that lasts about 35 minutes. I think that'll be a good segue to kind of dive into a little bit deeper about really what brings you happiness, even with your self-care routine. But a lot of times, well, the majority, 75%, feel guilty after funding self-care. And then they're twice as guilty of purchasing items instead of experiences. So a lot of times what we think is going to bring us happy and what we think is self-care really isn't actually truly that version of self-care. So what happens is a lot of times is, they'll say, oh, this purse or this physical item, maybe it's a bag, or these clothes is a version of self-care, or maybe going to a spa and things like that. Those things are what kind of gives them the guilty conscience. And I don't ever want you to have that type of conscience with your self-care routine. I want you to always feel good about what you're doing for yourself. And I'll say it a million times, and you'll hear me say it a million more times while I'm alive, that self-care is not selfish. So if you feel that item that you're going to purchase, the materialistic item, is really a version of self-care and it's going to bring you joy, don't have any guilt or any shame regarding that. But check out the happiness video. I'll include that at the end, and I think that'll kind of give you the different perspective. And then 60% of us would prefer to fund real life experiences rather than a materialistic item. Does any of that kind of resonate with you guys at all?
Yes.
I can't see who's talking, not everybody. Who said that?
Definitely.
Randy? Okay. Yeah. And so I think what we've got to do is kind of change our perspective of what we define self-care, right? So it's okay to purchase materialistic items, but we realize like experiences are going to give us more joy, but these other things should bring us joy too, right? So kind of change your perspective on that, all right? Oh, does that photo look familiar right there, guys? So this is another dimension of that. Then this is all the people that work and have PTO. So 45% of Americans utilize all their time off, their PTO, which means 55% of Americans do not. Over half of America does not even take the time off that they need to recharge and replenish and reset and recover and do things that they enjoy, even if it's a staycation and they stay at home. Half of America does not even use their PTO. 17 hours of PTO is the average utilization in America. All right, so I don't know what everybody gets. Every situation is a little bit different, but 17 hours is not a lot of time for the whole entire year to devote to yourself for self-care. And whatever that may be for you, like a cruise or going camping or hiking or skiing, or just maybe sometimes it's just doing stuff around the house like gardening or whatever it is. But, I'm going to encourage you to make sure you take all your PTO this year and do like a girls trip or do something for self-care that really, really is going to enrich your life. All right. Which means there are 768 million hours of unused PTO days, which equates to 236 million hours forfeited completely which is $65.5 billion in lost benefits. So realize that, to me, I want to say that you're entitled to those benefits, and that you should really use them. And you should use them to the best of your ability, and make sure that you're taking that time, that work will still be there when you get back. You know, it may not be the best scenario always when you get back, but, you know, like Penny gave some great examples, that the time off for that retreat with Warriors Ascent transformed her life, and so she's more relaxed, and she's not so anxious, and she is really transformed. So just that 1 week off for her has really given her an opportunity. So find something like that that's really going to enrich your life. This is kind of awesome. The last two quotes here are statistics. 72% of Americans realize their gifts and talents are not being utilized since COVID. So since a lot of us have been home, and, you know, and I've heard different things. You know, my wife and I lived in a van for 6 months. So like, if we can live in a van, we could basically live anywhere. But a lot of people weren't used to being at home and so confined with their significant other and all with their kids. And it created a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. But the other thing it did for people is they realized that their gifts and talents with their career is not being utilized in the method it should be, which in turn is that 25% of Americans right now are now looking for new employment opportunities. Does that resonate with anybody in this group? I should hear some yeses, maybe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Anybody else? And you don't. If you guys work together, you don't have to say you're looking for another job. You can keep that private. I'm seeing all the messages now. Did I miss any messages, Christy, that I need to like? None of my hours. Hang on a second. Let me get up here. Oh, so Barb, you get to keep all your hours, like year after year? They just accumulate? All right. There's somebody looking for a new job. We got more people. Eric just joined. Eric, thanks for joining. So there's that rainbow at the end somewhere. We just got to find it, right? And sometimes we get a double rainbow, but think about, you know, your healthy boundaries. Think about your self-care routine. Think about analyzing it, you know, and making sure that you're using the time that you need for yourself. All right. So here's some kind of funny statistics that, you know, the top one's tough for me, but people that want to increase their self-care, or methods that they would do, or things that they would change in their lifestyle. But 30% would give up their favorite food to have more time for self-care. 33% would sell a personal belonging, right, to have self-care. 35% would move. I really feel like that's going to be higher this year. And the reason why is because I feel like because of COVID, people have kind of determined whether or not they want to be in that environment, whether that environment was toxic or healthy for them, and if they really resonate with the political, you know, environment that's going on around them. What I've noticed more and more in Kansas City, Oklahoma, and Colorado is that people are moving out of the cities and going to rural places, and they want to be further into nature. And nature, to me, I will say, always nurtures. And I think that's one of the things that people are realizing is that that's a shift and it's a change, and they can work from home and they can be more diverse. So 35% will move, but I believe that statistic is going to go up even higher. I think it was around 40,000 Californians just moved to Texas alone. And I forgot how many moved to Florida. So you've got a lot of people just relocating. So age 18 to 23, 55% of those people say, you know, they want to visit a spa, which is, you know, getting your hair, your nails, a pedicure, things like that. The older people like us, 47% of them, want to do something outdoor. They want to be in exercise and just be in nature. This is the one that kind of bothers me, but I can kind of see the point that 56% of Americans feel that self-care involves screen time. So it's something doing on their phone or TVs and movies, which I can understand that it's time to relax. It's time to just kind of let go. But also it kind of depends on what you're doing with that screen time and what you're actually watching, how it's affecting you. So, just be mindful of that. Been 30% think that self-care is unplugging for technology. So there's a few of you on here that, we may have met or haven't met before, but I want to say one of the biggest keys to me was taking this phone and turning off all notifications. So the only thing that I get on my phone is a phone call. So every single app, once I download it, I go in and I turn off all the notifications. So no text messages, no emails, no Facebook, Twitter, whatever's on my phone. The only thing that it notifies me is if I got a phone call or a voicemail. And it's really been a version of healthy boundaries, but and also self-care, because I go to the phone when I'm ready to connect. I can be disconnected from that thing for hours and it'll never be a distraction. And I always use the analogy that how many times have you been next to somebody and their phone's vibrating the whole time or it's ringing the whole time and it's a huge distraction. So just think about self-care in your life and what you're kind of putting into your body and what you're actually, controlling. Here's what's kind of alarming to me as well is that most Americans spend 75 minutes a week on average with self-care. And I think Tom was one that says he spends about 8 to 10 minutes a day. So he's right on average with the American. We don't spend enough time each and every day to self-care. And when I go into the sleep talk next month, I'll talk about that, about like the sleep routine and more time that we need. But, in order to get a proper night's sleep, you need to spend about 2 hours. And that 2 hours can be really, really involved in your self-care routine. All right, so this is your next journaling question. I want you to write the question down. What is distracting you from being present? And then I want you to write down personally and professionally, because I heard some of the things on there, and most of them was work related. That work is really, really stressing them out and just things aren't going well. So through that anxiety, through the stress, through the discomfort, just write down what items personally and professionally are distracting you from being present. Let's see what I'm missing in the chat. Aw, thanks, Penny. Yeah, Barb, I do that too. Barb says she Netflix binges a lot. Oh, Kay's going through Voc Rehab. That's awesome. I did that years ago too. Yeah, your own distracting thoughts is what Tim said, and I completely agree because, and Tim, just know that's normal because I'll sit here and think about like a donut or like a cake or like a hamburger or something in my mind. Even when I'm teaching yoga, my mind's thinking about all these different things, It's true. Like I got an acupuncture and a massage today. And so she's like rubbing on my legs and my bladder's kind of full. And I'm thinking, man, am I going to pee or fart? That's what I just kept thinking in the back of my head. I couldn't relax as much as I wanted to because I feel like I'm either going to pee or fart, and I don't want to do either one of them. I was just like, okay, just relax and breathe and focus. And then she'd get to the other side and she's rubbing my IT band so hard, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to pee on myself right here, right now. So, Tim, you're normal, just so you know. You're completely normal. Does anybody want to share? Because this is going to kind of correlate to what they want to get out of this class as well. What is it that's distracting you from being present, maybe today or this week? And it could be the same thing as before. Yeah, Randy, that's true. I do focus on that a lot. All right. If you don't want to share, that's fine. We'll move on. I just want you to write these down and start thinking about it. So we make time for what's important. So I want you to start thinking about your priorities and your habits that you have formed and kind of where you've put them, right? And what you can change and what you can manifest, you know. And think about, like, if you are spending a lot of time like on social media, that it really is insidious, that it's really taken away a lot of the joy, a lot of the happiness. And so, you know, what I've done over the last few months is I have got to the point where I keep my friends. I don't remove my friends, but I just completely unfollow some of them. That way I don't see that negative energy. And so now I see like 20 or 30 people is all I see on a daily basis, because I've gone through and just, I've kept them as friends, but I just don't see all that negative energy. And because if those people are always putting that out, I don't want to be a part of that toxic energy. But I'm hoping at some point that they'll see something that I post that enriches their life, you know? So we have to really make time for what's important with our priorities and our habits. So write that down and just take about a minute here to, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, but think about, and if you want to, what you can share, what you can change in your life. You know, do you need to get up a little bit earlier? Or where in your healthy boundaries can you make some adjustments in your life to where you have more time for what really is important in your life, in your self-care regimen? Yeah. All right, let me see these questions. ADHD and failure. Time restraints. Yeah. Wondering what my future holds. And professional, always on the go, never any downtime. Yeah. Most of this really has to deal with healthy boundaries and beginning to understand what in your life you can say yes and what you can say no in, and how you can just make that time really, even if it is, you know, and I say this in Warriors of Sin, if you can start off with 8 or 10 minutes every morning in mindfulness and meditation, it's going to lower that threshold. It's really going to just make a huge impact on your life. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. All right. So this is a question too that correlates with that last one, but how can you enhance your self-care mission? Now, you've just kind of done an overall view, right? We started off really broad, thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and then we kind of dive down deeper. So what can you do in your life going forward to make your life better? How can you change some of those priorities or those habits? Or what can you do with your self-care routine and regimen differently? Let me see, now we got more messages. Anybody want to share? It gets quiet when I ask. I do. When I get the deep questions. Is that Christy?
Yes. If I don't write it down, just like it's a to-do list for work or my kids' school or baseball or whatever, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I have to be super, super intentional about it. And, you know, sometimes it's a 20-minute self-care thing. Sometimes it's 15 minutes. Sometimes it's not much time at all. But I just have to be super intentional about it. And that's one of the last things I do before I go to bed at night is think about what my day looks like the next day and how I'm going to find that time for myself.
I love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Definitely.
I used to think that getting a pedicure was self-care because it was like something for fun and it made me feel good and blah, blah, blah. It is not. I do not turn my brain off. I'm listening to conversations all around me. I'm watching my belly jiggle when the massage chair is going on. Like, it is absolutely not self-care.
Yeah.
I love them. I continue to get pedicures, but it does not count.
Yeah. Now, and see, that's what I was saying, that, you know, as we age, a lot of times our self-care regimen changes, right? If we get certain types of illnesses or things in our life, that really will transform like our self-care regimen. So like for me to get out and just go walk for 30 minutes a day is like a victory, right? Where years ago, if I didn't go run for 3 miles and go do a bike ride for, 30 miles, it wasn't, exercise. So as we age and as we grow and change and become more enlightened, our self-care regimen changes. Thank you for sharing. You're 2 slides ahead, so we'll get to journaling in a minute. Does anybody else want to share? Mike is on there. Mike, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good turnout. It looks, that's fantastic.
Thanks. Does anybody else want to share? We got a couple more slides and we're going to finish up, but kind of what you've looked at. Any thoughts, feelings? No?
I think being one of the things working with the counselor that I have is understanding that what you have at this present moment and who you are at this present moment is enough.
Yeah.
Not to always think things have to be better than what they currently are.
Right.
Or not dwelling on those facts.
Yeah.
So, like when it comes to growing my business, I'm always worried about that, worried about equipment and things like that and upgrading, and I have to remind myself what I have is enough.
That's right.
But worrying about it's doing what it's supposed to do. And I try to look at that with life too, but it doesn't work out quite often.
Yeah. All right. Let's move forward real quick. So through this process in your journaling, I want you to just take an objective view of the various perspectives of your self-care situation, kind of like what Christy said, like what used to be self-care for her really doesn't resonate with her anymore. She has a different version, but she also realizes if she wants to incorporate self-care in her life, she needs to write it down. It needs to be in a calendar. It has to be kind of planned and organized, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's completely okay to be that organized and to that level. But I want you to just kind of be cautious. I don't want you to kind of overthink. I think, Tom was just saying that, he has a lot of worry about all these different things that are going on in his life. I want you to be methodical, but I want you to journal through this whole entire process. I really want you to journal your journey because it will make a huge impact going forward as you reflect and look back on this day and you look on last week and the previous week and the month and the year, and you begin to realize more of what self-care means to you. And maybe you just have a completely separate journal that's about self-care. And you write down, okay, this is where I want to go on holiday this year or vacation, or this is who I want to spend time with. And this is what my self-care regimen looks like today, but this is what I want it to look like going forward. And begin to really dive into your journal and get to the point where you're just, answering a lot of these questions. So I don't want you to share this, but I want you to write down right here, where's the conflict located? Because when we do a recon mission, right, a lot of times that's what we're looking for, is the internal conflict of what's going on in our life. So think about that, write this question down, and just spend about the next minute, and you don't have to share if you don't want to. And I'm going to check out the chat.
I was writing, Carrie. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, where's the conflict located? Where's the conflict located? So like when we're doing a recon mission, we can go out and specifically say, this is Osama bin Laden or this is whoever, right? So is the conflict located within our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors, our beliefs? Those are just some suggestions. Is it, a time management issue? Is it a financial issue, right? So think about where the conflict is located personally within your life, within your self-care regimen. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Carrie.
All right, a couple more slides here. I'm going to get this party rolling. So just write that down. We're not going to share that. Now think about the actions, specific actions you can take to improve your self-care. Think of that. Is that Kat that's writing these down? Or is it Kay? It's tough for me to see with this little thing. Kay, was that you that's writing down the questions?
That was me, Kat.
Kat? Okay, Kat, the next one is, what actions can you take to improve your self-care? So specifically, what can you do going forward to improve your self-care? You know, we talk a lot about transforming from the role of the victim into the hero and the warrior, and that's part of this journey, is really being accountable for our beliefs, right, and our behaviors, and allowing ourselves to the opportunity to really have that, you know, self-reliance and resilience, and saying, okay, I'm going to make this a priority. I'm going to change this habit. So what actions can you take to improve your self-care? Oops. No. All right. Now I want you to go back from the very beginning of when we started this almost an hour ago. A lot of you hopped on 5 minutes early, but I want you to analyze your self-care situation. And I want you to begin to view it from a different perspective. So this photo I was taking laying down on a bench in Yellowstone. We were out hiking and I was just tired, and I sat down and I looked up. I was like, wow, it's actually really beautiful looking up and not always, you know, kind of looking down or looking directly horizontal. So view from a different perspective and think about your situation and your definition of self-care. And do this each and every day, that you do it from that positive perspective. And then sometimes you just need to switch the angle just a little bit and understand. So with that, I always suggest that we request feedback and we connect with others and we ask others, you know, what is your definition of self-care, and kind of dive in deeper. And that could also be not only journaling, but looking at news articles or asking somebody you know that seems, you know, like they're more calm or more relaxed, or get a mentor, get somebody in your life that really, really can help. And so part of that self-care series that I did 30 videos for an entire month. You know, a lot of them was like, one of them was watching the sunrise, or getting in a hot tub or a hot bath, or just going outside for 2 minutes if you're at work, just getting outside and just changing the view, getting some fresh air, or going to a local park. One was a new perspective. I talked about a blood panel, understanding your health and well-being, right? Therapy is a really, really big one and a good one. Resilience, forgiveness, turning off all the notifications, acupuncture, raising your self-esteem and your awareness, journaling, self-love, and then I went through like a trauma breath. But there's 30 of them in there, and I can include that in here in a second. But I want you to think about your self-care routine mentally, physically, spiritually, your community, and even financially, of what you're doing for yourself financially, of how you can enrich your life with your finances, and that it's, you know, purchasing experiences and not always, you know, items. So I'd like for you to share, this is going to be the last slide before I ask questions, but from this first mission of self-care, what have you guys determined? What have you analyzed? What have you gained out of this kind of self-reflection? Who wants to share? All right, I'm going to just start at the top again. Tim, G, do you have anything you want to share that you've got out of this?
You know, the timing is actually really kind of perfect, because I'm in the process of a lot of what you're talking about. And, you know, it's been terrifying because I'm making this huge jump where it's good for me. And it's a valuable thing to be able to reach a point where you can do things that are good for you, even if it means it's bad for other people.
Yeah.
Like not in any kind of really bad way, just they're going to lose money. But it's interesting because I've been reaching out to mentors and, you know, feedback. You know, one of the things I've been struggling with lately is malicious feedback. Really, really confused me. So what helped me kind of get through this was I've actually started reaching out to like previous employers, and different colleagues from over the years, you know, and been like, okay, this is the feedback that I'm getting. This makes no sense to me.
Right.
It feels total left field. And having those other people, you know, there's kind of like two opposing things that are like both equally true.
Right.
Like one, when it comes to like your relationships, the things that are going on in your life, like you're really the only one person, so you need to be careful about who you're asking feedback from. But you know, if you can find people who always go for people who are better than you.
Right.
If you know somebody that's smarter than you, further, you know, closer to whatever goal line it is that you want to get to, go ask them. And you know, it's, you know, sometimes you got to be a little prepared for some hard feedback, but
yeah,
I mean, it's, you know,
I always say the most critical feedback, but also you want to have emotional intelligence when you're providing feedback and you're receiving feedback, right? So like Mike Kinney just hopped on the call, and Mike Kinney is like one of my greatest mentors. I'm always going to him for suggestions and feedback and how to make my life better. So that's definitely, you want to find those people in your life. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to express anything that they've determined from this first mission within themselves? Somebody's not on mute, but I don't know. Is that? Nobody? If somebody doesn't say something, I'm going to call on you. Who do we have here? Randy. She's like, I can hear you.
I just, I would agree that just surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like. I think that I've realized that a lot of times, you know, we go through, you know, things in our life, you know, our closet or our junk drawer or the mail, and we end up disposing of things, but sometimes we have to dispose of people, and kind of like you said about not unfriending them, but unfollowing them. And I just, I am very social. I enjoy people, but I'm starting to be very protective with my time and who I surround myself with. And it makes a huge difference.
It does. Does anybody else have anything that they've gained from this kind of self-analysis, self-awareness of this first mission that they want to share? Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. To me, I just want to say that this mission was definitely a success no matter what. If you have the time to connect with your community, you have the time to kind of build awareness of where you're at today and how you can enrich your life and the lives of others. This photo was taken a couple of years ago here in Leadville. You know, Tony Hoffman does a great job with always building awareness of Warriors Ascent and the mission. And this group of people do this race in Leadville. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I participate as like hanging out with Mike Kinney and volunteering. And then I go to some of the local places and look for some desserts. But to me, supporting these people, supporting Warriors Ascent, building the awareness is also a version of self-care, because it really gives me a mission and a purpose as well. So before we head off this evening, does anybody have any questions or any feedback or anything for me?
I just want to thank you for putting it on, Gary.
Yeah, you're welcome, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to join. Yeah, you're welcome, Lance.
I love you, Gary. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't know who said that, but I love you too.
It's Melissa.
Oh, yeah.
And Dustin's here too.
Hey, Dustin, how you doing, brother? I'm glad you made it, man. Yeah. All right, guys, we'll keep in touch. If you look in the chat feature, I put the 2 links. One for the self-care. It's like videos under a minute every single day for 30 days. And then the other one is the happiness factors. And I think seeing that will kind of take your self-care to a new level of understanding what really brings you joy and what those statistics are, and kind of analyzing that. If there's anything I can do for any of you guys, feel free to reach out to me at any time in any method. And once again, thank you guys. Mike and Christy, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to connect with the community. I love you guys so much. It's been an hour. I wanted to keep this under an hour, but like my wife says over there, I can talk a lot. So think about we talk about reframing, but think about really your self-care, and don't feel it as guilty. Self-care is never selfish, and do what you need to do to have that healthy balance in your life, right? On all levels. All right, guys, thank you again. Is there any last comments or anything before we hang up?
Thank you for being you.
I've got something.
Yeah. Who's talking?
That was me. Sorry.
No,
Real
you're.
quick.
Yeah.
Guys and gals, if you have friends or supporters of Warriors Ascent that weren't able to tonight and they think that they have to come to every single mission, assure them they do not. Each one will be its own registration page. And please encourage people to join us. We would love to have 100% participation from people who register. If you have any questions, or if you want to follow up with Carrie and you need his contact information, you can respond to the email that you got this from, or on our Facebook page.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to share before we hang out and I go for my sunset walk?
Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. I love you guys.
Thank you, Carrie.
I love you too, guys. And
Love you back.
yeah.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love you guys. And
Good job, Carrie.
yeah, thanks. Next month is sleep, one of my favorite topics. All right. All right, I'm hanging up, guys. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Love you, Carrie. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.